Hello, hello, YouTube. Today we are looking at a Pyromancy pure build, essentially. Flamehand Moira is the name of the character, and as you look at my stats, they're almost all entirely in faith and vigor. There's like 2 in mind, endurance, or whatever, and it's a level 81 build. I have it constructed in such a way that I have an okay amount of poise for level 80. I think 72 is a breakpoint. Don't quote me on that, but essentially you drink the Flask of Wondrous Physic and you have 58 Faith, 42 Vigor, and you're getting a 15% fire buff. You have the 2 giant hair talismans, which buff flame pyromancies anyways, or flame incantations. And so you're doing the big damages. You only have 4 damaging spells plus whatever Ashes of War you carry with you, so it's a pretty simplified caster build. But you have just enough damage and tricks up your sleeve to get things done. A pretty minimalist inventory. Everything should be on screen here and at the end of the video, so if you have any questions about the build, it should be on screen during one of those 2 portions. Usually, that's what I'll do for these PvP videos moving forward. If it's not at the beginning of the video, it'll be at the end. So let's get to the invasions. Now, there are a couple things you can do with this build, right? There's lots of different playstyles, even within this centralized build. You could just focus purely on Giant's Flame Take Thee, which is the nuclear option. It does big damage, it catches people off guard, it has surprisingly large area for its attack. It does dissipate a little bit after some travel distance, so it's not like Cannon of Haima where it will find a surface to explode on at some point. But one of the fun things to try to do with this build is to actually use O Flame, which is, if you use it uncharged, I believe, even if you don't have high casting speed, uncharged O Flame will combo into the light attack of a straight sword swing. Latency pending. Anytime a true combo or a combo is referenced, latency could always ruin that whole process. And then a fully charged O Flame will combo into just about anything else. It's just landing that fully charged O Flame. But as you can see here, Giant's Flame Take Thee makes a lot of these invasions very short. I only have like 1 or 2 war clips, I would say, where they just go on because they catch on to the Giant's Flame, and a lot of these clips feel like they're under a minute. It was a really strange experience recording footage, because every time I would get into an invasion, it would be like, alright, am I going to do well? Are they going to turn this into a war? And the fight would end unexpectedly when I just happened to get a hit. It felt a little dishonest, but hey, I wanted to do a pure caster build. I need to do a pure wizard build at some point. So here is the Pyromancer. You can see the host over there playing on his Burger King Wi-Fi, skipping about. I'm just trying to predict where they are. And I get a little better as the invasions go throughout. I love straight swords. I think straight swords are phenomenal. It feels like you're gimping yourself if you're not using 2 of them. But part of my problem is that I was using the broadsword because I wanted the big damage number for the Ash of War. But the broadsword has the slicing R2, the charged attack. And the stabby R2 on straight swords, very useful. Gives you just a smidge more range and still stumbles people. So I would recommend you play with that and figure out how to get that one to work very well, because it is fantastic for a kit, and those R2s can save your life when you're using smaller weapons. They're necessary. Otherwise you just don't have an in, especially when you're fighting multiple people and they will look for opportunities to blend you, like this fellow. Blending me up, tasering me with an electric pot, the works. I really wish I would have mixed up the fashion a little bit for Flamehand Moira. She's wearing almost the same exact outfit as Cousin Albie, with the difference being the hat. Now the builds play very differently. One is a martial arcane build, and this one of course is a pure flame pyromancy faith build. But still, the fashion, it looks good. I like the chest piece. The Sanguine Noble has a good looking chest piece. And it looks good with the knight helmets and the armor. I don't know, it's hard to patch up the good fashion. It's, I I want to mix up the fashion enough so that every character feels unique and could possibly pass the silhouette test. Now, of course, Cousin Albie and Flamehand Moira could pass the silhouette test, where their heads are completely different shapes, and that would give them away. For those of you who don't know, the silhouette test is a concept, usually in cartooning to my knowledge, but essentially it's if you were to black out a character, make them just the silhouette, the shape of the character, could you tell them all apart? So by the barest external details, could you tell them apart? So this is probably my longest clip I have here in front of us. This turned into like a 6-minute war, it felt like, and it was just me trying to find an inn on this awful terrain, and there was just... I could have tried to guide them into monsters, but they were the type of duo that they were here for a fight, and a fight with me, and they weren't going to get baited into any sort of monster. They just went their own way as soon as I detached for too long. And it wasn't like them going their own way was into any sort of objective. They were just seeking some sort of vantage point or high ground. They're here to fight. They're here to PvP. They're not here to make progress in the level, which is fine. They're allowed to. It just changes the dynamic. It's important that you understand your level that you're playing in, where the monsters are at, so that you can, well, bring your victims into those monsters. Some people say it makes less interesting fights. That could be true, but it can also give you the edge you need because you are outnumbered. Sure, as an invader, oftentimes you have the prep time to make your build optimized, while when you're playing in the overworld in PvE, and you just want to play with your friends, your build may not be terribly optimized. There's the good old Giant's Flame Take Thee. I land so few of those this clip. Feels bad. But they are the nuclear option, and they end the fight so quickly with such a big chunk of damage. This is a lot of fun. I've really liked Pyromancies in most of the Souls games. They've just been so much fun. I really liked Pyromancies in Dark Souls 3, though many of the Pyromancies were very underwhelming. I remember it was like, what was it, Chaos Vestiges, I think, something like that. Like, was a big old Jupiter planet-sized fireball you'd throw and it could hit a lot of people. And then there was the Chaos Fireball that let the little lava on the ground. That one had its situational uses. And then the only other one that was terribly useful was maybe Black Flame and the little Flame Torrent move, right? Black Flame, because it comboed into itself, it did so much hit stun. So if you had the Lothric Banner plus Black Flame on your casting implement, the flame in your hand, I forget what they were called. My goodness. And then like the Dark Mask that buffs your dark damage in Dark Souls 3. That was a wonderful combo to set up. You'd have a spear for poking, and you could set up those combos. And then you could finish off people who had just a tick of health left with the little flame, flamethrower pyromancy. In this game, the little flame pyromancy is awful. I've tried to use it to finish off people before. It's just not worth it, unfortunately. But the good news is that there's many other very worthwhile pyromancies to make up for that. Catch Flame is universally loved. You can use it as a running attack at point blank. You can spam it to deal big chunks of damage if your enemy's just staying in the way. O-Flame, like I mentioned earlier, just uncharged can combo into really fast hits like a straight sword R1 light attack, or you can charge it up and combo it into almost any Ash 4. It's really great. Giant's Flame Take Thee, charged and uncharged, is just this huge nuclear option to give you range and big chunk damage. The Flame Pillars, they're alright. They have their uses, usually as a wake up, or if you first spawn into an invasion and the team is harassing you. That's where it can be very useful, the Flame Pillars. But, yeah, it's a little harder to use. They did speed up that first Flame Pillar in a recent patch. Recent by the time of this recording, I should say. And so long as you don't charge the Flame Pillars, it can be a great wake-up. So if you parry somebody and get a critical hit that way, if you get a backstab, if you even knock somebody on their back with Giant's Flame Take Thee and you happen to be close enough and you're in a confined enough space, the Flame Pillars can work. It does put you at a little bit of risk, but it can be very good. That first pillar coming out faster turns out was most of what the spell needed. And this co-invader who's working with me, the green naked guy, kind of brings me back to my Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 3 days, where the naked guy probably knew how to roll better than you, was smarter than you, especially if he used some neon color. At least as an invader. As a host, who knows how smart that fellow could be. But he's doing very well, holding his own. It makes me wonder what his build is. It must be a strength or dex build, something martial, maybe even a little bit of quality. We're somewhere around level 80, 81. So, makes me curious. I would love to see his build, because he's like, you know what, I just need to be this green-skinned mutant with a feather in my cap. That's the build. And I'll use a great bow and a Zweihander. That's exactly what I need. It's been a little while, but I want to get a clip of myself backstabbing the Radon Scourge swords, because my goodness does it leave them open for a good while. Especially if they go for the follow-up. I had not remembered how long this fight was. Ah, there's the pot over there. 422 on just a Giant's Flamefire pot at level 80. And it's quick. I like the pots in this game a lot. It's a pain getting resources for them. But if you have a pure build of any kind, elemental, physical, you name it, the pots do wonderful, and they're a great punish for certain situations. And here, I hit him with a double hit, he gets poked with this Vi, and I come in with another double hit, and the host is vanquished. Good old green guy. I'd love to see his build. So this clip right here was probably one of the more unique fights I've ever had. Where I show up, he's already wounded, another half-naked guy with a katana thinks he's cool, and gall darn it, he wants to fight under the Mausoleum. I wonder how many previous people he had sucked into this particular fight. This was unique. I never had anything like this. Maybe I'll do it myself to somebody. I don't know. Not really much of a Taunter's Tongue fellow. Bringing people into my world, having twice as many flasks as they do, and expecting a fight where I get to heal. I don't know. Feels just long, drawn out, and inconsistent. But hey, he's having fun. I had fun in retrospect, if I can say that. But during it, timing the dodges on this thing is ridiculous. It might require a jump, but I haven't tested it thoroughly. I just knock these fellows down as soon as I get to them, so leaving them up, especially for a staged fight, is very silly to me. But he must have thought it was the fight of legends to be under the Mausoleum, constantly jumping, and I get hit by a little rock there before the initial impact, so it's just a very dangerous place to be. Very unique. I wonder if they could, I know in the modding scene people have been making their own 3v3 arenas and stuff like that. I wonder if they could have an arena with one of these bad boys in it. These mausoleums. They could stick one in there and just let it be one of the hopping ones. If that would cause enough trouble. Mix things up. I'd like to see that, a 3v3 under a mausoleum. That would be neato. It's usually only possible with Seamless and other mods being mixed into the batch. Still, very fun concept. I appreciate this guy in retrospect. In the moment, I was grumbling to myself because everything I was doing, I felt like I was just getting interrupted. And I think he's light rolling. I should probably pay attention and see if he's doing the light rolls. It feels like he goes pretty far. I don't know, those could be medium rolls. Hard to say. Because he does switch to like a Bloodhound Fang, and he's half naked, so he's probably got really light equip load. But the good old knives, when you're done with somebody's garbage, works. Always have fan daggers. You won't regret it. Have some kind of knife, but fan daggers usually are the ones you want. This particular invasion was loads of fun for me. It changed how I was feeling during my session of recording, and it had me smiling, just this wide, stupid grin on my face. I get bopped by a guy from behind. You know what? I'll let the footage speak for itself for the most part. I feel like I don't need to add a whole lot of commentary to this one, but I have this excellent opportunity to handle a three-man team because they are not grouped up. If you're gonna be in a PvE situation and you see the little Invader title card show up, stick together. at least loosely together. Be within a handful of steps of each other. This fellow interrupts me wanting to uplifting aromatic for a safe elevator trip. Elevators are dangerous. They're kill zones, death funnels for invaders usually. But this next part, oh, it had me smiling. I'm very easy to please, thankfully. I am easily amused. Can't speak. I am easily amused, and I don't know, the how many hours I put into the game is probably enough to demonstrate that the IKEA of video games is enough to hold my attention for such a prolonged period of time. Watch this next part. I've got to make a short of that. I have got to make a short of that. That'll be fun. Shorts on YouTube, very odd medium to me. You have to crop it. You gotta force people to hold their phones vertically, which is a cardinal sin as far as I'm concerned. And I don't like YouTube shorts. I don't like short form content of that type. Of course, having fun clips is good and all, but expecting everyone to make the shortest of clips, no context, and to get anything of substance across, it's... I don't know. It's destroyed a lot of people's attention spans that I know, personally. And so I kind of shun it outright. But I will make the clips, because there are fun little moments like that, and I suppose I will be no better than those that I utterly disdain. If this video does nothing else, it should encourage you to level your vigor as soon as possible. Doing a little less damage is worthwhile. I have a pure faith build here, right? 48 faith, 42 vigor. With my wondrous physic, I get 58 faith, plus a 10 or so % buff to my fire damage, something like that. And I'm easily able to do over 1,000 damage with a single fireball, almost regardless of their resistances. It's very seldom that I hit people for less. I might have hit a host in a previous clip for like 870, but there's lots of times where you can hit for over 1,000 with Giant's Flame Technique. It is so strong. It feels like the saving grace for it is that you don't get it till very late game, so if you want to use it at a low level, you have to get very far in the game if you're doing it organically. Another mindset I would like to cultivate when I'm doing PvP or playing in general is very much an anti-greed mentality. Because I think it's the thing that gets me killed the most, is I do a big lump of damage to a phantom or a host. I see they have just the tiniest sliver of HP, and I immediately want to go in there and finish them off, even when it may not be advantageous. Oh, that was such a good ambush on screen. That was a fun moment. They were giving me quite a bit of trouble beforehand. But yeah, I want to cultivate a mindset of anti-greed, because there's I had several clips that didn't make it because they weren't fun, they weren't interesting, where just I got greedy and I got killed for it. And to be fair, the whole purpose of the invasion isn't to win. The purpose of your invasion ought to be to make a great story for the team. Be the guy that people are cheering themselves, patting themselves on the back when they defeat because you are a notable challenge. Now, not everybody is equipped for that mindset, but if we're going to give people the benefit of the doubt, treat them in good faith, let's pretend they're looking for a good story. Cultivate a sort of positive outlook on the experience. And a lot of sweaty, try-hard kind of people will not be for that. But that's why I kind of want every character to have a story, that they see Flamehand Moira, there's a theme running, right? And then give them enough of a challenge that if they do happen to defeat me, that they feel good about it, and maybe I'll be remembered for an hour, I don't know. Do I remember all of my invaders that I've ever been invaded by in my PvP experiences, or PvE experiences with friends? Not particularly, but there's a few that stand out to my memory. Just a few, right? And that might be part and parcel because of how much I've played the game. Perhaps people who run through the game once or twice don't have that issue, and their invaders are far more memorable. Maybe while I find that the things that I've recorded before and watched before, edited, they stick in my memory. More repetition, of course. And that's probably true of any skill or anything that sticks in your memory. I found that the people in my life who can tell stories about their lives very well, and they seem to remember loads of stories, are also the same kind of people who retell the same stories over and over. And so that repetition really does make a difference. This particular fight, I don't like the ending. I killed the 2 invaders I'm the invader. I killed the 2 phantoms relatively close in conjunction, and then I was just fighting this guy's just McDonald's internet on the moon. I couldn't make a hit to save my life. They were slippery, to say the least. Keep getting them ghost hits. And I've advocated before for having some sort of status weapon on your build, right? Even if you are a pure caster, just put a status on a weapon that can hit a lot or repeatedly. It's probably a pokey weapon so you can do chase downs. I didn't do that for this character. I messed up. If I were to do it again, I'd probably take the far right rapier or something and make it poison mist and make it poison infused or something like that. Since I don't know if I'm fairly certain I don't have the stats for a great epee or any sort of heavy thrusting sword. I could do it on a spear. I wonder if you can put it on a spear. I've never tried to put poison mist on a spear. It probably can't go on a spear. It feels like it goes on sword and sword adjacent weapons. Well, I think it could go on a halberd. Bleh. Doesn't matter. I wouldn't put it on a spear anyways. Still, trying to poke this person for all they're worth. They were pretty smart trying to get their hosts back, though. Or not their host. They are the host. They're trying to get their phantoms back, and so they're lollygagging in this area, trying to summon friends, getting hunters, things like that. And they keep doubling back on a person, and that is a trick that genuinely works. Especially if your internet is hot garbage. I think I was playing against the person, and they had like 250 ping. Anything more than 200 feels fairly unplayable, at least from my perspective. Speaking of people who are playing on Wi-Fi internet, this guy I remember. I had the ping counter up on my corner to tell me what type of internet connection my fellow players have, and this fellow was regularly in the 320 range. I recall. And you'll see it. He has some early hits if you pay attention to his swings. And you'll see me having to dodge. Yeah, that was a hit right there. Or it was a ghost hit, but the hit still happened before this swipe occurred on my screen, which is a jarring experience. You have to play entirely differently. You have to act like your foe's twice as big, and they have all that phantom range. And I do make mistakes. I get greedy. I want hits. I'm trying to stay on him because I don't know if this is the kind of host who will just start healing as soon as things are going south. Some people have a code of honor, right? And they adhere to it. And then there's others that pretend to the code of honor. And then there's others that no such thing exists. And to be fair, it's a video game with no set rules. It's just your whole objective is kill the other guy. Honestly, by any means necessary, as far as the game is concerned. Internet need not apply. Rules, honor need not apply. And I'm not upset by people who have no honor. It's fine. It's just these situations you're always cautious because you want to stay on them in case they try to go for a heal so you can punish it. And there we go. The great fast swap to the rapier. Heavy running into light. Worked like a charm. Being able to swap fast is a talent I need to work on more personally. I didn't really do much in the way of swaps in Dark Souls 3. I might have occasionally from a knockdown switched to the historic greatsword in Dark Souls 3 for the charging weapon art that it has. Or maybe the Gundyr lance, because it also had a charge and a sweep for a wake up. That's about it. That was the extent of my swapping in Dark Souls 3, really. Maybe hard swapping slowly to a shield if I needed a parry or something, because the parries in that game were a little more straightforward in my mind. But in this game, I've been trying to get better at swapping. It's muscle memory, it's practice. Having cohesive inventories that are similar between characters, if you play multiple characters, is important for knowing your swaps. Just memorizing the inputs for one can be a world of difference for those swaps. I want to get better at that. I also need to get around to learning how to consistently do a reverse quick step backstab. Practicing on NPCs is kind of underwhelming. And I don't know, it looks cool when you do it, and it feels like a really nice tool to have. And it's one of those technical skills that it's like, I don't want to learn, but I would love to just know how to do it. I want to be an expert piano player, but I do not wish to practice. Here is one of my worst nightmares, is 2 colossal boys. Can't trade with them. They're just smart enough to not get hit too often. But there is the beautiful Endure into O-Flame charged up. Melted that Phantom. He didn't have a whole lot of health. He had like, what, 600-700 health. But to be fair, this is level 80. So hitting for 600 or 700 damage, that's a meaty hit. That sucks for him. But now I get to change tactics and deal with this dodgy host, which is fine. Unironically using the Falling Star Beast Jaw, not just to spam its Ash of War. Kudos to this guy. I've always been horrible at Colossal Weapons, and Colossal Sword's saving grace is they have the crouch poke, in my opinion. Maybe I'll try to have a build that's focused on Colossal Weapons. That could be neat in its own right. And still, what a good team. They were fun to fight against. Here is a blue situation, because I try to get a blue every now and then for these videos. Usually it happens by random, and who knows what the content will be. This was one of those situations where I was probably running in one direction for 1 or 2 minutes straight, which isn't a huge amount of time, but as far as gameplay is concerned, and when you're seeing your host consistently drop down to 1/3 of their HP and you're trying to save them, it's a grueling 1 or 2 minutes. But I come in, get him with the fireball, the good old running heavy, and then I make this swap again to the rapier, but he's already dealt with. There are a good number of people in the community that absolutely hate blue phantoms. They disdain blue phantoms, and I don't blame them altogether. I understand the mentality, though I don't share it. A lot of people feel like a blue is just an agitating person to show up. They could be good, they could be not good. Most of the time they're fairly mediocre, and they just show up infinitely while you're trying to kill a host, right? Any host who's fairly good at surviving and getting away from their invader will be able to get an army of blues fed to their invader. And a lot of people hate that. They hate that so much that they're here for a story, they're here for a fight. They want some rules, because nobody wants to accept that their job is to have the odds stacked against them, right? And if they do accept that, they feel like the blue phantom is too much, it's too far. I've always thought of blues as the sometimes incompetent white blood cells in a body, and you are the infection they are trying to eat up. That you are the thing that's wrong with their world, and the immune system is going to deal with you one way or another. But I see blues as somebody dipping their toes into PvP, right? Maybe they don't have a whole lot of friends, but they want to occasionally be summoned to somebody's world and save the day, right? I understand the mentality. I think it's a very good thing, because some people don't want to be antagonistic inherently. There's, I've had even family members who, when they hear about the concept, they're like, you're invading somebody else's world? Why do you want to be the bad guy? Why would you ever want to be the bad guy? Why would you ruin somebody's fun single-player RPG, occasionally co-op experience? What is wrong with you? Why would you actively grief them so? Well, it is built into the game, for one, and two, there's a huge sense of satisfaction when you defeat an invader, especially a tough invader who you know you earned the kill from. I couldn't resist using the soundbite. Again, it cracks me up. It makes me smile. Don't worry, I won't abuse it too much. The idea of somebody getting hit in the back with a dodgeball, or getting just direct hit with a fireball and you playing a dodgeball noise, it's funny to me. It's silly. Part of me wanted to do the MLG Modern Warfare 2 hit marker noise with the intervention sniper sound, but I feel like there's probably a more appropriate ability for that. Maybe the Bolt of Grand Sax. Maybe I'll put a sniping video together. That'd be kind of funny on a Dex build, and put the hit marker intervention noise over it. Who knows? I do need to make an inventory management video. I've been thinking about it for a while, and it's a topic that keeps cropping up. I'll do it soon. Very soon. I really like how he popped into the air for that one. I wonder if that was a jump. It had to have been a jump. Here is a great example of when to use Burn O Flame, or Chaos Storm, whatever you want to refer to it as, the big old Flame Pillars attack. Because it hits that one Phantom off to the side, killing him, and almost killing the other Phantom. Just fully charged. using the fully charged Burn O Flame in conjunction with the Physic and the 2 giant hair talismans, or the giant seals. Just absolutely melted them. It's a fun move. I need to find more opportunities to use it, but this was a good one. A really good one. Alright, maybe that last one was a little bit grandiose, but don't worry, that's the end of the video. Show off the build one more time. Flask of Wondrous Physic with the fire and the plus 10 to Faith. Level 81, there's the stats in front of you and the spells I used. You could probably switch out the Great Heal for the Black Flame incantation that gives you a lot of physical resistance. I'm a proponent of defensive abilities. I'm going to tell everyone, use defensive spells if you have the Faith. Stay alive. Defense is better than offense, because if you live long enough, you might kill the other guy. Here's the weapons again. I thank you for joining me on this silly little PvP Pyromancer journey. I think next episode I will do the inventory management, and then maybe after that the Pure Wizard. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'll have new ideas by then. But thank you again, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye-bye now.